Hey y'all, it's Jennifer. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am coming to you with another reading vlog. So this reading vlog, I feel like I'm just going to go on and call the Emily Henry reading vlog because I read 2 Emily Henry books when I was on vacation last week and immediately ordered the other 2 that she has. They should be arriving today. We'll see if they really come. I don't think it's even saying that the package is out for delivery yet, so we'll see. But I just got up. It's Saturday morning. It is Memorial Day weekend, so we have Monday off here in the States. And it is set up to be a very rainy and a very cold weekend. So it sounds like the perfect weekend to stay in, read, do some crafting. And I'm depressed that I had to come home from the beach. So I feel like Emily Henry books will make me feel like I'm back there. The 2 Emily Henry books that I read on vacation were Book Lovers, which I had given to my aunt to read. I think she might like it. And then I picked up on my very last day there. I went back to like the Island bookstore and I picked up People We Meet on Vacation because they miraculously had another one of her books there. And I feel like this is me kind of preemptively rating everything. I feel like People We Meet on Vacation and Book Lovers are going to be my 2 favorite books of hers. I really do. This was very lighthearted. This was really exactly what I wanted. And this is exactly what I thought an Emily Henry book was. But I felt like Book Lovers had an underlying tone that was really pretty serious. And I really enjoyed that as well. So I'm excited. I have ordered Beach Read. And then I have also ordered her newest book, which is Happy Place. And they are the 2 that I feel the iffiest about, frankly. And so maybe this vlog is not going to be that successful. But I loved this. This was Friends to Lovers, which if you want to know, I think is probably my favorite romance trope. Book Lovers, I don't know that you would term that enemies to lovers, but I really enjoyed Book Lovers because it was set here in North Carolina and it was just really funny. It was like people from New York coming down here and not understanding what we do in the South. So it was really hilarious in my opinion. But this was also really funny. I think her talent is really in banter, in conversations that the couple is having. And so I really, really am enjoying her. And I'm really excited that I finally picked her up. I know, who am I? And this is something that I always feel about myself, something that I always think about, is just how much I tend to enjoy something that it seems like the masses are enjoying. I feel like I really do like books that a bunch of people are enjoying at the same time. I feel like I get a lot out of that. And so I always wonder when something is really popular, what it is that has captured like the cultural zeitgeist of the moment. And I feel like Emily Henry was speaking directly to me in both Book Lovers and in this book. In Book Lovers, it was more of kind of an existential thing, like kind of what do you want out of life, that I felt like personally targeted me. But this one really looked at kind of the so-called millennial experience and like the lonely kind of drifter millennial who can't settle anywhere. And that also felt like a personal attack to me. So I am interested to see how I feel about Beach Read and Happy Place. If you want to know, I feel like I'll enjoy Beach Read, but I feel like Happy Place is not going to be for me. I'm going to be interested to see how I feel. Possibly I will love both of them. I think that I will because I think largely I just really enjoy her writing, but we'll see. I am also currently treating myself to a reread of A Tale of Two Cities. I don't know why. The whim just possessed me when I was at the beach. I was seeing, I think Katie is reading. She was talking about A Tale of Two Cities and she was comparing the writing of it to the writing of Great Expectations. And she talked a lot about how she feels like A Tale of Two Cities is just the more challenging read. And I definitely see that. I think it's been a few months since I read a classic, really, especially a classic that wasn't translated, that didn't have the aid of translation. And it is very difficult for me to read. I think the last time I read this and the first time that I read it, I believe was truly in 2020. So I'm excited. I really do love A Tale of Two Cities, and I think it's more in thought than in execution because I find myself thinking of A Tale of Two Cities pretty darn frequently. But then when I think about it, like right now, when I'm actually reading it, I don't feel the emotional pulls of the characters that I think I do in memory. I'm only like 4 or 5 chapters in. The writing is beautiful, but it is taking a lot out of me. So that's what's happening this morning. I don't know if I'm hot or if I'm cold. I really am just between temperatures right now, but I will keep you updated. Oh, before we go, I have some book mail. Do y'all want to open it with me? Speaking of Katie is reading, I picked up, I think, one of her favorite manga series. I got volume 1 of Yona of the Dawn. I know next to nothing about this. When she was talking about it in one of her latest vlogs, I decided, you know what, now's the time. And I really need something that feels kind of lighthearted and fun and fantasy-like. And I think this is about a princess. I'm really excited. Ooh, okay. My other package is The Winter King by C.L. Wilson. Yes, look at this cover in all its glory. It's gorgeous. This is a fantasy romance. I picked up the second book in this series, which is called The Sea King. I picked that up at the beach and I was reading it. Just really felt like I was losing a lot by reading the second book in a series. And I figured it's a romance series. It probably doesn't matter if you read one out of order, but I really do feel like I needed to read this first. So I am going to read this very soon. Maybe in this vlog I'll pick it up. We don't know. I just finished the first part of A Tale of Two Cities, basically where they're getting Lucy's father and they're going back to England. And I am enjoying Lucy as a character so much more than I did the first time around. A Tale of Two Cities is such an interesting book because I would say of all of the books of Dickens's that I've read, it is probably the book of his that I think of most frequently, but I think it's also a book of his that I didn't give 5 stars, specifically because of Lucy, the main character's characterization. And when I got this on Kindle, I just went ahead and got like a bind up of all of Dickens's novels. And it's interesting to me because they formatted it in a way that means you're going through the works chronologically. I am shocked that A Tale of Two Cities immediately precedes Great Expectations, which I think has one of the more memorable female characters from his kind of oeuvre. In general, it is just a shock to me to know that A Tale of Two Cities is something that came so late in his career, when I think a lot of his earlier works, they need help on female characters as well. But I'm more forgiving towards that because it's earlier in his career. It seems like my biggest gripe with A Tale of Two Cities is all about Lucy's character and how Lucy's character functions within the narrative. And so I am interested to see if my opinion continues to be positive. I feel like this right here, though, the first part of the book, which can't even be the first 50 pages, I feel like that's the most we get of her as a character. I feel like everything else we get about her is just her kind of being the vehicle for this love triangle that happens. I am thoroughly enjoying it. It's still the same day. My Emily Henry books have not arrived. It's about lunchtime now, and apparently the rain is also not coming in, not nearly as fast as what I thought. And so I am getting ready to, I think, set up a new planner. I know it feels like a really weird time to be switching to a different planner, but I am not really happy with what I've got going right now. One of my goals that I think I mentioned in my goals video at the very start of the year was that I wanted everything to be in one planner or in one book. And so I had gotten a Hobonichi, and I love the idea of a Hobonichi because I love the idea of having one page for each day of the year, because I really wanted something that kind of merged my day job, day-to-day life, something that would merge that with booktube, which I kind of look at as a second job because it requires a lot of different facets of me each day of the week to think about like what to upload, video ideas, to kind of track what I'm reading. If I'm vlogging, have I updated a vlog often enough? The reason that the Hobonichi, I think, is such a struggle for me is because the paper is so weird. I cannot find a pen that will write on a Hobonichi paper that will not dry out after the first couple of times, except for truly a ballpoint pen. And I write weird, I'll fully tell you this. I write straight up. Let me see if I can find a pen. Here's my pencil. This is how I write. I write straight up. So I know that maybe the way that I hold a pen is not conducive to the Hobonichi. So I'm gonna use one of my season's greetings planners for the year that I got. This is a K-pop planner, but still, I think I really like the way this is set up. This has a space for each day of the week, but even better for me, it has this kind of upper area that can be for more general stuff you want to achieve throughout the week. And I think that would be great for me to utilize this upper space for booktube and this lower space for basically everything else, day job, whatever other chores that need to be done. So I think that's probably what I'm going to do. It's a shame. I feel like the spine of this is already broken and I haven't even used it yet. Crazy. But I think I'm going to switch over to this. I really was thinking too, what would be nice to track in a planner if I'm going to kind of merge booktube and regular life, which is the goal this year. I just kind of thought it might be fun to record quotes and stuff like that in here. I don't know if I'll do that because I don't actually know if I'll have enough space. But since I'm starting this essentially halfway through the year, maybe I could take like a dual page spread, like 1 week here and 1 week there, and do it for the same week, but have one side be about bookish things and one side be about day job things. This is something that I've been thinking about for a really long time, so I think I'm just gonna bite the bullet and I'm gonna do it. It's a shame because I really do enjoy the idea of the Hobonichi almost more than I do the process of actually using the Hobonichi, but it's a shame. I just am gonna have to move on with my life. I think this will probably in general work better for me because I also feel guilty with a 1-page spread per day. I kind of feel guilty when I don't have anything to say or when time passes that I haven't updated the Hobonichi. So I think this is probably the best of both worlds, and it's far lighter. It is not nearly as heavy as the Hobonichi is. The Hobonichi is also uneven now because of previous weeks and previous months in it. I know this was not really what y'all signed up for, was just me talking about planners for 5 minutes, but that's kind of on my agenda for today. Okay, I know that y'all are just chomping at the bit to know how I set this up, but I am really thoroughly enjoying it so far. So this is an NCT127 calendar, but I mean, unfortunately, since I didn't use it the first half of the year, I'm just gonna have to leave these months blank. But where is June? Okay, so I've been able to kind of set up June just a little bit, and I'll look at my like work calendar when I get into work after Memorial Day weekend so that I can put other obligations. But I know I've got reading sprints on Thursday, July 8th. And then over here, I just kind of have like goals in terms of videos. This is a checklist section, and I think that's really valuable. I think I will really like that. So these are kind of video ideas that I currently have, right? Certainly I want to do like my May wrap up. I sure hope that you've seen that by the time this video goes up, but I guess it's still May. But then the weeks are really interesting as well. So here's like what 1 week looks like. I do think it might be a stretch to like get everything into one little box here, but I personally really like it. I've kind of made a space on the days that I normally post videos to make sure that I'm writing that down. On the weekend, my favorite drama is coming out every day, Saturday and Sunday, so I've made note of that. I really only know what I have to do tomorrow, which is Tuesday, so I've gone on and put a few things in. But I think this checklist area I'm going to utilize as like what I'm currently reading, what I've read throughout the week. And over here in my Hobonichi, I have it set up that like I'm tracking what I'm currently listening to and what I'm currently watching. And sometimes I track what I eat, which I think is probably more valuable than not. So I'll just see. This week it will be an experiment. Well, I got my package. I got Beach Read. I am about 100 or so pages in. I have got to go on and say I'm really disappointed in this one. And a lot of it is because I think there's just going to be a really sad and I want to say melancholy, but melancholy is a tone that I think I respond pretty well to. But this just feels like it's going to be outright sad. There's a lot going on in this book that has to do with our main characters, like backstory with her father who has just passed away, but come to find out her father was having an affair. And so he kind of had a secondary life that she and her mom didn't really know much about. And so she's processing her grief for him while at the same time feeling very betrayed by him. And her mother had had cancer, so she's thinking her father cheated on her mother when her mother was really going through a tough time. And it's all about how she really acted happy during those times and tried to play act, tried to really enjoy her time with her parents while she knew she could. And she never processed the trauma of her mom going through cancer, and then is now having to process the trauma of her father, who she really loved, cheating on her mother for so long. That is present on every single page of this book, so much so that the premise that this is sold as, which is kind of a romance where two authors swap genres for a week, they try to write in each other's genre, I think that feels so incredibly secondary to what's going on with our main character and how she's processing her grief. The main thing that I know, like the shoe that's going to drop, is that her father left her a letter that she hasn't read yet, and I am not I am not prepared for that. This so far is easily my least favorite Emily Henry, and I am so glad that I did not start here, because I just don't think I would have continued with her otherwise. I really, truly don't. I hope that I change my opinion and I change my mind as this goes on, but so far this one doesn't have nearly the humor, or even, to my mind, I don't even feel like it has the character development between the love interests. Because to me, Augustus, our male love interest, he's gotten literally nothing in this. I feel like I know nothing about him. I feel like I don't have a handle on him the way that I felt that I had with Charlie in Book Lovers specifically, but also Alex in People We Meet on Vacation. All of her books, to my knowledge, are written in first person from our female character's perspective. And so I think it's hard to get a handle on another character when something is written in first person. I really, truly do. I think that's a feat. But I feel like in People We Meet on Vacation and in Book Lovers, I felt like they were characters outside of their relationship to each other. Whereas I feel like in this book, it is literally just about January, and Augustus is a secondary thought. Sorry, forgive my hair. I literally just gotten up. It's Memorial Day. And I feel like I was a little bit harsh last night on Beach Read, because I did wind up making it maybe about another 100 pages in. I would guess I'm halfway through. I feel like I'm around page 200. And so I think I would also probably say this has got to be the longest book of hers that I've read so far. And it does, in general, to me, feel like her first novel. I just feel like it's not as tight as the others. I don't know. I feel like I've been really harsh on it. But if I'm comparing it to the other experiences with her work that I've had, I really am just not having nearly as good a time with this as I did with People We Meet on Vacation in particular, but also Book Lovers. I mean, Book Lovers was so good that it almost put me into a reading slump when I was on vacation. So, I mean, that's really saying something to me in particular, that it was really out of the box for me, but it was a book that I really thoroughly loved, apparently, and loved so much that I automatically wanted to move into something else that she wrote. I might finish it today, I might not. I feel like I'm gonna craft a lot today. I feel like I'm just gonna try to cram everything in, you know, because it's the last day of a holiday weekend. But I'm looking forward to picking it up. I don't want to sound like I'm dreading it, and I really don't want to sound like I'm not liking it, because if I truly was hating it, I would not read it. I would put it down. This has been a big year at the DNF for me, but I still think her writing is really charming, and I guess I just have more critiques than I do positives, because I feel like I want the book to be more than it is. And I feel the same way with A Tale of Two Cities, and so I can come back around to that. It's because I love these books, it's because I love these authors, that I know they can do more, and I know that they can really expand on things, and I don't think they're doing it in either one of these cases. For me, with Beach Read, one of the big hindrances of it so far, and maybe this is gonna change as the book goes along, is like they are switching genres, right? And so she is now writing literary fiction when she normally writes romance. And Gus, our male hero, is now writing romance when he normally writes literary fiction. And I know the book is written in first person from January's perspective, but to me, Gus has objectively the harder job. I think it would be so much harder to write romance after writing literary fiction than it would be to jump from romance into literary fiction, especially given like the headspace of our main female character, January. And we have gotten literally no look or peek into his process, into what he has been doing. It's basically been all about her. Like, they do things where she tries to show him what romance can be. Like, she takes him to a fair and things that are like objectively kind of romantic. And he has taken her on interviews that he does for research for his literary fiction. And so, I mean, that's been there, but to me, we haven't even gotten a peek into his writing process, which I would love to see. And I think it's just because, in my opinion, I would say he has the harder job. But then on the other hand, I'm still currently reading A Tale of Two Cities. I'm halfway through. I'm already emotional. And those of you who have read A Tale of Two Cities, you know what's coming for me. It's pain. It's a raw, open wound. It takes a long time to heal once you've read this book. But what my issue with A Tale of Two Cities is, I'm going to rate it 5 stars, so it's barely an issue. But I think something I wonder about A Tale of Two Cities is, now that I know it comes along basically towards the very end of Charles Dickens's career, I wonder why it is so short. I know that Great Expectations was also a relatively short novel for him, and that's why I started with it. But I'm just wondering, why not make A Tale of Two Cities 1,000 pages long? Why not make it at least, I don't know, 700 pages? Just give us a mid-length, because I feel like he glosses over a lot of what I want to see in A Tale of Two Cities, which is truly just like character moments. A lot of this is explained as happening off page, especially in terms of romance and this love triangle that is going on. I have to assume when he says like time has passed, a year has passed, that characters have really had moments off page where we would understand why they feel something for each other. It's not to say that the romance that we do see isn't really romantic, because it is, and there's a reason why the book is so emotional. There's a reason why the book is so sad at the very end, but I still want more from it, and it's because I love it. It's because I love Dickens, and I've seen what else Dickens can do, that I know he could have made this longer, and he really could have explored these moments between these characters in a way that felt meaningful, but also gave us as readers the details that I think I'm craving personally. And maybe nobody else feels this way, but I really think he should have spent more time here. I would have been very happy if the book had been extended by maybe 200 pages. I'm certainly enjoying A Tale of Two Cities more right now than Beach Read, and I thought for sure once Beach Read came, I would probably drop A Tale of Two Cities. But, you know, I do have to wonder too, I'm no longer at the beach. So does Emily Henry work for me as a vacation read, and as a vacation read exclusively? I think maybe that's a better question. Okay, I'm gonna go on and wrap up the vlog here, because I have finally finished the disappointing reading experience of Beach Read. And I have also finished the wonderful and extraordinary rereading experience of A Tale of Two Cities. And I'm maybe 3/4 of the way through Happy Place, so I feel like it's also a good time to give an update on that. So first things first, let's talk about Beach Read. I gave this 2 stars. I feel like that was generous. I mean, her writing was still on par with other works from hers that I've read, but I just didn't feel the emotional attachment here. And I guess maybe emotional is probably my biggest critique of the book. I did not like the very serious, emotional, sad undertone throughout this book. It really depressed me to read it, actually. And I'm not trying to knock people who enjoy that type of thing and who like to maybe process something that they've gone through by seeing fictional characters go through it as well. That's just not for me. You know, real life is sad enough a lot of the time, or it's hard enough. When I'm reading to escape real life. And so I didn't really appreciate a lot of the elements here. And I guess what I didn't really appreciate is just that the book is not marketed as having those elements. When I'm reading the back of the book here, I get nothing that says this is going to be a really sad, emotional story. I get nothing about what I think was the main through line and the main plot line of this book, which was about January processing her father's death and what her father did to her mother. And I just really did not appreciate that. That, of course, is not the fault of the book or even of Emily Henry. That is how the book has been marketed. And I went into this knowing that there was kind of an emotional undertone, just based on other reviews I have seen of this book over the years. It is just not something that agrees with me personally. And it has been wild, and I mean truly wild, to be reading this at the same time as rereading A Tale of Two Cities, because I think what I can talk about with both of these books is something that really ties them together. And it is that emotional tone. It is that kind of sad, depressing tone. For me, I felt like Beach Read kind of emotionally manipulated me a bit, and I didn't really appreciate it. And when I look up reviews of A Tale of Two Cities, and really just in general, when I look up reviews of Charles Dickens's works, emotional manipulation is a problem that a lot of people seem to have with his books. And that has never been the problem to me. I guess what makes me feel like Dickens was okay, especially in this case, is that I went in knowing that A Tale of Two Cities was going to be heavy. I don't think anybody picks up a book about the French Revolution and assumes it's going to be a happy time. And from page one, we're dealing with some really heavy subject matter. Kind of the iconic opening line, the iconic opening paragraph really sets the tone for this whole book. And weirdly enough, the same thing happens in Beach Read. The prologue, I think, really does set up your expectations quite nicely as to what the major through line and major plot line of this book is. But I just don't feel like it is represented on the tagline of this book the way that it is for A Tale of Two Cities. And I think maybe a lot of it is too that with Charles Dickens, I think you know you're going to get something that's kind of sentimental and emotional a little bit. That's kind of something that you just associate with him as an author. I don't think I know enough about Emily Henry to know what to associate with her other than what I thought was kind of humorous, witty banter. That was not really present here. Basically, on every level, this was just a massive disappointment to me. So easily I would tell you this is my least favorite of Emily Henry's, but really don't take my opinion as the end all be all, because I am clearly the odd man out. I think most people who are Emily Henry fans rate this as their favorite. This was just disappointing for me all around, especially to feel like I had found a new favorite author, and then to go into this and feel like you were just disappointed on every single level. Everything that you loved about previous works of hers, you felt wasn't present here. That's the way that I felt throughout this reading experience. It's just like I was reading an entirely different book by an entirely different author, and it didn't work nearly as well for me. I know I said earlier that I'm so glad that I didn't start here because I just don't think I would have carried on with her, and that remained true for me to the very end. It did get me. And that's why I guess I feel like I was emotionally manipulated. I thought I was going to be reading like a little happy, light rom-com when really I got literary fiction. And it's not like when people talk about this book that they talk about that much in their reviews. They're always talking about the romance, which to me just was not at the forefront of this novel at all. And in terms of her male heroes, Gus is just the most forgettable to me because I don't feel like we got a lot of him in this book. So this was really disappointing to me, sadly enough. But as I said, it was just really interesting to be reading this alongside A Tale of Two Cities. Look at my tabs from 2020. Who was I putting tabs this far out of the book? But I highlighted every single passage that I highlighted the first time when I was rereading this. So A Tale of Two Cities, I gave it 5 stars. Who am I? What can I say? This is everything to me. I still felt like when I closed the book, it was almost like what they call like childbirth syndrome. You know, when you give birth to a child, supposedly you forget the pain of the labor because you're just so in love with your child. And that is the way this book feels. You're so in love with the ending. You're so in love with how the book ended that it makes you forget all of the critiques you had about the earlier story because the ending was so strong. I wish I could read you the last few paragraphs of this book. First of all, it would spoil things for you. Second of all, I couldn't get through it. I mean, truly, I really could not get through it. I really enjoyed the reread far more than the first time I read this. I think what was so wonderful about a rereading experience is that you felt like in all of the earlier chapters and in all of the earlier moments, you felt just how inevitable that final chapter was going to be. It is set up so beautifully. And when you don't know that it's coming, when you don't know how the book is going to end, you are just kind of going along for the ride. And I don't think you're picking up on very subtle foreshadowing that is throughout this book. And so a reread just really made me love the story a whole lot more because I was getting all of the foreshadowing. My favorite scene in this, other than the ending, I can't believe I forgot about this. There was so much that I forgot about, but I loved one scene that was between Dr. Manette, Lucy's father, and Mr. Lorry, who was from the bank. It was so emotional. It was so sad. I mean, a lot of this book was just really, really touching to me. And it wasn't all the time sad. I feel like the moment between Mr. Lorry and Dr. Manette was actually really sweet, and it was really heartwarming, and that's what I love about Charles Dickens. I think a lot of the time I know going into his books that I'm going to experience some level of emotion, whether that is happy or sad, because he's really humorous. Even this book had a lot of really lighthearted, funny moments for me, but the emotional moments, the dramatic moments here, this has got to be one of the best books ever written. And I was sitting here processing this after I finished it last night, amidst my tears, and I was just trying to think about how he could have structured this as a writer. When I've written in the past, I'm not someone who outlines. I just feel like it really cages me in. In fact, if I have an outline, I can't write. And yet I feel like a book like this is just an example of why an outline must work so well. He had to have sat there and worked backwards from how this book ended, and then structured all the character dynamics around how this book was going to crescendo. Incredible craft. I mean, incredible. It is all worthy. And there are so many scenes in this that allow him to take a look at kind of the crowd aspect or the mob, specifically in Paris, but he also shows it in London as if to show that London at the time is maybe not the be-all end-all. It's also not great. The people of Paris and the people of France in general are being treated poorly by the aristocracy. The poor in England are being treated the same way. It's beautiful. Some of the language in this is just some of the most beautiful writing. I really, really love this book. This has got to be one of my favorite classics. Totally cemented now after this wonderful reread. It makes me want to reread other things by Dickens. I always feel bad because there's so much from him that I haven't read. And I feel like the first few that I read from him are always going to be my favorites. Great Expectations, A Tale of Two Cities, and I think David Copperfield were the first three that I read by him. And I just don't know that anything else he has is going to surpass that. I have DNF'd a lot of his other books. I felt like if I reread this, that I might feel worse about him. Like maybe I was just new to classics when I read those. And so I was wondering if I was really just giving it a positive review based on the fact that I hadn't read much from the Victorian time period when I first started reading him. But this reread experience has shown me that he does have a few gems. So I'm really excited to carry on with reading him. I think I might reread Great Expectations next. Now let's talk about Happy Place. I am about 75% of the way through, maybe a little bit less than that apparently. But this is Emily Henry's newest novel, and it came out last month, or maybe in April, I guess. This is a bit of a fake dating trope. Our main characters were engaged and they have broken up, but they get together every year with their group of friends and go on vacation. They're still pretending to be together because a couple of their friends are going to be getting married at the end of the week. And so they don't really want to put a damper on the wedding celebrations or on their kind of last hurrah as a vacation as a group of friends. To me, that setup is just so wild because apparently they have been broken up for months and months, and literally no one in their life knows that that has happened, including their parents and like all of their friends. It has just never been mentioned. Whereas me, I get dumped in a 4-minute phone call. Everyone would know about it. If we had mutual friends or not, I don't care. I would have needed to process that with someone. So I can't believe that neither one of them went through this like really horrible breakup with each other and they didn't tell any of their friends. It's kind of explained why that there's all like these limitations within a friend group and why you shouldn't date a friend. But this is so fun. This is exactly what I love about Emily Henry, because this one is really, really fun. And Wynne, who is the main guy in this, love of my life, possibly my favorite hero of hers, because his whole shtick is that he feels like he's kind of secretly boring and that he's not an interesting person. And I think objectively, if I am thinking about this as someone who is reading a book, he probably isn't the most interesting hero of her novels by any stretch of the imagination. So maybe he's right, but there's something about his personality, there's something about the way that he talks to her specifically that I just think is really charming. And what the book has done very brilliantly is it has interspersed flashbacks to when they first got together. So that's one thing I don't like about second chance romance, is that to me, I feel like I missed all of the time where the couple got to know each other, where they fell in love. That's what I care about. I'm a Sagittarius, okay? I'm all about the chase. When the chase is over, I lose interest. And so that's the hard sell for me with second chance romances. But I think what this book has done so brilliantly is that it has allowed us to see that, as well as seeing kind of the aftermath of their breakup, which I just love. I just truly love it. I think another strong suit of this book is that they're in a larger friend group, and I feel like I know who each of the friends are, I know their personalities, and I'm really interested in them. I'm not just interested in the main couple. So I think that's really great about this book in particular. I don't know where I'm going to rate this in terms of my ranking of Emily Henry's books. I feel just such a level of fondness for book lovers and people we meet on vacation. I don't feel like this one can compete to that, but I am loving this, absolutely loving this. It's a great summer read because it's taking place in New England and they're like boating and going out and eating lobster rolls. It just feels very iconically summer to me. I'll probably finish this over the next few days. I'm really looking forward to finishing it, but I think I'm gonna wrap up the vlog here. Maybe I'll start a new vlog for next week. I really enjoyed this reading vlog and I really enjoyed reading these books, though I'm very sad that Beach Read just did not work out for me. I would love to know down below, if you're an Emily Henry fan, where Beach Read ranks for you. And actually, in general, if you're an Emily Henry fan, how do you rank her romances? I would love to know too if you've read A Tale of Two Cities, but that's going to be all for me today. I hope you're all having a great week. Happy reading. Goodbye.